All right, let's dive into something that's honestly a huge part of our daily lives, guarding the tongue. In Islam, this isn't just about being polite. It's about understanding the incredible power packed into every single word we speak. So let me ask you something straight up. Do you really truly get how powerful your words are? Because in the Islamic view, speech isn't just sound. Nope, it's an action, and every action has consequences. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, isn't it? Our tongue. With that one tool, you can build up a community, create trust, and bring people together. But with that exact same tool, you can tear relationships to shreds and destroy the very fabric of society. So that leads us to the big question, right? Why is this such a massive deal? Well, it all boils down to one of the most fundamental principles in Islam. You're personally responsible for every single word that comes out of your mouth. And this is where it gets really profound. The idea is that nothing you say just vanishes into thin air. Every single word, whether you think it's a big deal or just some throwaway comment, it's all being counted. And this isn't just a philosophical idea. There's a powerful verse in the Quran that really drives us home. It basically says there's a vigilant observer for every word uttered. That single thought alone creates this deep, profound sense of responsibility. It makes you pause and think before you speak. But this isn't just about you and your personal record. It's so much bigger than that. The impact of what we say, it ripples out. It starts with the individual, sure, but it ends up shaping the entire community. I mean, just think about it for a second. A society where people make an effort to speak kindly and truthfully, that's a place built on trust, respect, and a sense of peace. But a society where nasty words, lies, and suspicion are the norm, well, that's a recipe for conflict and division. Our words are literally the foundation of our social world. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are we actually supposed to avoid? Islamic tradition is super clear on this, highlighting what it calls the destructive pests of the tongue. First on the list is mockery, or sukhriya. Now, this is basically making fun of people for anything really. Their appearance, their family, their job. You could even say this is the original prohibition against things like online trolling or making cruel memes. Why? Because it's an attack on someone's God-given dignity. And the Quran is incredibly direct about this. It warns believers not to ridicule others because, hey, those you're looking down on might actually be better in God's eyes. It's a huge check against our own arrogance. Okay, next up is a big one, backbiting, or riba. The classic definition is to say something about someone behind their back that you know they wouldn't like. And here's the kicker. This applies even if what you're saying is 100% true. That's the part that gets people. It's seen as a major betrayal of trust. And then you have something that's a cousin to backbiting, namima, which is basically malicious gossip. The real difference here, it all comes down to your intention. With namima, you're not just venting. You're actively carrying stories from one person to another with the specific goal of starting a fire and ruining their relationship. So when you lay it all out like this, it's wow. It becomes crystal clear, doesn't it? Mockery just obliterates respect. Backbiting plants seeds of doubt and resentment. And malicious gossip? It's designed to tear people apart. The social damage is just immense. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what not to do. It's a whole list of don'ts, which naturally leads to the question, what's the alternative? What should we be doing with our words? And this is where the conversation shifts from negative to positive. Because Islam doesn't just put up stop signs. It actively gives us a green light, a command, to use our speech for good. This verse right here, it's like the foundational rule for how we should talk to people. The default setting should always be to speak good words. It's a simple but incredibly powerful instruction. And then you have this beautiful saying from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. A good word is charity. Just think about that for a second. A word of encouragement, a genuine compliment, it costs you nothing. But in the spiritual sense, it's an act of giving. It's a gift that can lift someone up. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we train ourselves to be better with our words? Well, the tradition points to our acts of worship as being a literal training school for the tongue. Well, a perfect example is the act of fasting. Most people just think of it as not eating or drinking, but it's so much more than that. It's a total body spiritual workout. You're training your stomach, yeah, but you're also training your tongue to abstain from lies and falsehood, and to either be mindfully silent or to only speak good. And this saying from the Prophet just nails it. It makes the connection absolutely undeniable. It says that if a person doesn't give up false speech while fasting, then God has no need for them to give up their food and drink. The physical part and the ethical part, they're completely tied together. So let's bring it all back to you right now. We end with this thought. Every word you say is like laying down a brick. With those bricks, you're either building bridges of trust and community, or you're building walls of hate and division. So the question is, with your words today, what are you building for tomorrow?